Hello, my name is Nerdbrain, and growing up, I was a Nickelodeon sitcom superfan. Drake and Josh, iCarly, Victorious, these shows meant a lot to me as a kid, and still do. My family life growing up was rocky, but gathering together on the couch every Friday to watch the new iCarly as a family is one of the memories I cherish from that time. These shows are genuinely well-written and well-produced pieces of children's entertainment that still hold up today, and I find myself revisiting them now and then. Unfortunately, my memory of these programs is slightly tainted by the knowledge of the abuse that took place on the sets of these shows. Through the memoir of Jeanette McCurdy, her 2022 debut book I'm Glad My Mom Died, and the 2024 docuseries Quiet on Set, public knowledge of the horrendous treatment of the cast and crews of these shows has become far more well known. While I still remember these series fondly, watching them now has a bit of a melancholy aftertaste. The product itself is amazing. Nothing about what took place behind the scenes takes away from the brilliant writing, banger soundtracks, stunning vocal performances, and vivid acting shown on these programs. But it does sting a little. And it almost makes me feel guilty that I enjoy watching them so much, knowing the suffering that's attached to them. And in looking back at these shows, something else sticks out. The fact that the signs were always there, and collectively we all ignored them. Or rather, we were conditioned to accept them and brush them aside. But before I get into all that, to illustrate the sheer magnitude of my point, let's participate in a humorous exercise of one of the internet's most favorite hobbies, dunking on people who like feet. May I present to you every foot scene in iCarly. I assure you, it wasn't just a couple of times. It was a very common motif. Season 1. Episode 1, iPilot. Carly wakes up Sam by shoving her foot in her face. Episode 2, I Want More Viewers. The closing credit sequence features a viewer-submitted clip of a child who picks her nose with her feet. Episode 6, I Neville. Carly and Sam paint a family on their toes as part of their webcast. This clip is also used in the opening credits. Episode 11, I Rue the Day. The segment the crew is performing on their webcast before Neville hacks the website involved Sam sending text messages using only her toes. Episode 12, I Promise Not to Tell. The girls are pictured performing the ankle swear, making Carly promise not to tell anyone that Sam changed her grade to an A in the school computer. Episode 15, I Hate Sam's Boyfriend. The end credits feature a viewer-submitted clip of a girl performing a gymnastics routine which involves moving a ball around with her bare feet. Episode 16, I Hatch Chicks. What are you doing, step bro? Episode 17, I Don't Wanna Fight. In the opening scene, Carly, Sam, and Freddie are looking through clips that viewers sent in to find one to show on their website. An actual viewer-submitted video of a young girl taking her glasses off with her feet is shown. Episode 18, I Promote Techfoots. So, this entire episode is about a brand of awful shoes being promoted on their show, and as such, it is full of close-ups on the teenagers' feet and shoes. I'm not counting every clip in this episode because I would be here literally all day. Episode 19, I Got Detention. A clip of a young boy is shown in which he puts his feet behind his head and then plays the guitar. Episode 20, I Stakeout. Spencer is seen making a cake in the shape of a sock for his buddy Socko. It becomes a running bit that Spencer shows off his various pairs of wacky socks made by his friend with a foot-related name and hobby. As such, similar scenes in which Spencer shows off his various socks are accounted for here. Just note, this happens dozens of times. Later in the same episode, during the end credits, a clip of a young boy mimicking the Family of Toes bit from earlier is shown. Episode 22, I Fence. Sam makes a bet with Freddie and Carly that she can read the entirety of a book called The Penny Treasure. At first she pays a fellow classmate of theirs to read the book to her, but she begins reading it and finds it enjoyable, saying, "It's like TV, but in your head." Since she no longer needs the boy to read to her, she instead pays him to rub her feet with lotion. After Sam explains the situation to Carly, the boy begs, "Please call my mother." Season 2. Episode 1, I Saw Him First. Sam puts her foot in a bucket of vinegar, and Carly puts her foot into a bucket of goat's milk during the Fun with Magnetism segment on their web show. Later in the same episode, Shane, the boy the girls were fighting over, is shown in the ER after he fell down the broken elevator shaft. He is in multiple casts, including on both of his legs. His toes are featured pointing out. Episode 4, I Hurt Lubert. After the crew's confetti cannon prank backfires and explodes, injuring their doorman Lubert, they are tasked with taking care of him after he is bedridden. When they go to help him for the first time, Carly is asked to scratch Lubert's foot with a fork. Lubert enjoys this session thoroughly and giggles with joy, eventually shouting, "Harder!" at Carly and giggling more. Later in the same episode, Carly and Sam are shown playing archery, shooting at a video or gif of a wiggling foot on the monitor in the iCarly studio. Side note, during the end credits scene of this episode, Carly asks Sam a series of absurd what-if questions, all of which being answered with go to iCarly.com. The first question she asked is, what do you do if your foot catches on fire? Episode 5, I Go to Japan. In the opening scene, Carly and Sam are swinging barefoot on their web show. Later, the clip from the Season 2 opening credits is played in which Sam tries to get her heel real smooth before going to Japan. Spencer sleeps like this. Carly wakes him up by tickling his toes. And later he is wrapped up like this for his massage. Episode 6, I Pie. This bitch proclaims how she used to rub her grandfather's feet with mayonnaise. Also, I love the fact that Ken M's profile picture is in this episode. Episode 7, I Christmas. During the sequence of what life would be like if Carly's unintentional wish for Spencer to have been born normal came true, Carly visits Sam in the juvenile detention center. Sam from this timeline says Carly and her were never friends, but Carly says various bits of personal information she knows about Sam, including that Sam's mom has a tattoo of a foot on her foot, in order to prove that she truly knows her. Episode 8, I Kiss. In the opening scene, Carly is shown watching a video of a talking foot on Splashface, the Nickcom universe version of YouTube. Episode 19, I Must Have Locker 239. During the opening scene, Carly and Sam clip Gibby's toenails while blindfolded during their webcast. Later in the same episode, Spencer steps in something sticky and green after walking outside barefoot. He then presents it to Carly and she reacts with pure terror. Episode 21, I Fight Shelby Marks. Freddy proclaims that she can kick me in the face any day, and Sam reacts with, her foot is too good for your face. Later in the same episode, as soon as the opening credits end, Carly says, this concludes our 5-part series, Toes with Froze. And just the absolute artistry of Dan Schneider's name right there, right front and center, just great. Season 3. Episode 2, I Cook. The Carly crew beats a famous chef on his own cooking show. He gets depressed, but they go to cheer him up. A few days later, he sends a video thanking them for cheering him up, during which his wife or girlfriend, or whoever this woman filming the video is, pans down the camera and asks, ew, do my feet look fat? Episode 3, I Speed Date. On their web show, during the Pathetic Plays segment, Gibby's character asks his children, played by Sam and Freddy, to floss his toes. They do so and cry. Episode 9, I Saved Your Life. After Freddy pushes Carly out of the way of a speeding taco truck and gets himself hit instead, he is shown in his bed at home, in a cast with his toes sticking out. Spencer proceeds to acknowledge that his toes stick out of his cast and sings a demented version of This Little Piggy, saying, this little piggy got hit by a truck. Episode 10, I Was a Pageant Girl. During Sam's talent portion of the beauty pageant, she chooses to tap dance. Of all the styles of dance, they chose the one that focuses on feet. Earlier in the same episode, Freddy, Spencer, and their 2 dates were playing a version of that Ellen game, Heads Up, that kind of deal, and Freddy had a card that said, Big Toe. Episode 15, I Won't Cancel the Show. After the opening credits, Gibby asks Carly, is it normal for a guy to grow hair between his toes? Moments later, he takes out a pair of scissors and begins to cut, exclaiming, normal, here I come. Later in the same episode, while Spencer is filling in for Sam on iCarly, Carly bites Spencer's foot as part of a scene in their pathetic play. In another installment of their pathetic plays, Gibby's character once again makes Freddy floss his toes. Episode 16, I Believe in Bigfoot. There weren't any, explicit foot scenes in this episode, but come on, of all the cryptids in the world, the foot one. Also, take a shot every time they say foot or Bigfoot in this episode. You'd die. Episode 17, I Psycho. Spencer asks, do girls have bladders? And Carly replies, no, we store pee in our feet. Episode 18, I Beat the Heat. Multiple open-toed shoes in one shot. Nice. Season 4. Episode 3, I Get Pranky. The episode opens with Gibby, barefoot, playing a game on iCarly where he must identify what he is standing on. He is standing in a bucket of random hair. Episode 5, I Do. An angry old woman stomps on Carly's foot, quote, with her bony old foot. Freddy then asks if Carly would like him to rub her foot. Episode 7, I Hire an Idiot. Carly wakes up Sam by tickling her feet. Episode 8, I Pity the Neville. In order to prove he is remorseful for his actions and doesn't wish to trick the iCarly gang, Neville must drink Wahoo Punch from Sam's shoe. She proclaims that she has been sweating in it for over a year. Earlier, Gibby also says that he doesn't want to go to the party to celebrate Neville's humiliation because his toes are too numb after taking an ice bath on iCarly. Episode 10, I Party with Victorious. A Victorious character says this, but officially the crossover episode is an iCarly episode and not a Victorious episode, so. Kat is given a text-to-speech program to use while she is on vocal rest, and when told to say anything to test it out, she announces that, "Last night my brother bit my foot." Season 5. Episode 3. I Can't Take It. When lovingly describing Sam, Carly compares her to a wild chimp and how she can go berserk and chew your foot off. Episode 7. I Still Psycho. Spencer announces that he is going to soak his feet in milk. He then soaks his feet in milk. No reason is given as to why. Gibby later proclaims that he loves that Spencer's feet are currently in milk. Episode 8. Eyeballs. Carly is absent for this episode, and the reason given is that she is visiting her grandfather in Yakima because he just had foot surgery. Episode 10. I Toe Fatcakes. So the whole plot of this episode is that Carly watches an episode of the Dick Van Dyke Show in which the actress gets her toe stuck in a bathtub faucet. She then wonders how that's even possible and puts her toe in the faucet and subsequently also gets stuck in the faucet. Beyond the feat of it all, it is also noteworthy that Carly, a 16-year-old character at this point in the show, is completely naked in the tub in this scene while the adult woman in the episode of the Dick Van Dyke Show is in a bathrobe. Miranda Cosgrove was also 19 when this episode aired, and presumably freshly 18 when this episode was filmed. Weird. This episode is not available on streaming platforms. I wonder why. Season 6. Episode 2. I Go One Direction. Gibby massages Sam's feet. He then asks if she can massage his feet, but is denied. Later, he announces to the band One Direction that he gives good foot massages. Episode 4. I Have a Ween. Carly breaks up with her old shoes and starts wearing new, younger, hotter shoes in a bit on iCarly. Episode 6. I Battle Chip. Sam and Carly do gymnastics. I honestly can't tell if they're actually barefoot or if they're wearing tights, but whatever, man, just put the fucking clip. Episode 10. I Rescue Carly. Gibby takes pictures of his feet. Over the phone, Carly says that she is scared. Freddie, looking at Gibby's feet, says, "Me too." Episode 13. I Goodbye. Carly specifies that she needs to get her toes painted as well as her fingers for the dance. And we end with one last flashback to Floss My Toes before the series ends. Also, there was this segment called I News with Spencer in which he groans really hard and stretches his feet behind his head. I could have sworn this was an end credits scene, but I forgot to write it down, and I could not be fucked to look through the end credits of every episode again. I have looked at feet in this show enough for one lifetime. In the year of our Lord 2026, a lot has happened in regards to the history of the Nickcoms. Through the works of Jeanette McCurdy, who played Sam on iCarly, as well as Mary Robertson and Emma Schwartz, who directed Quiet on Set, public knowledge of the direct abuse experienced by the cast members on Nickelodeon sets has become much more widely understood. Female actresses were paid less than their male peers, general boys' club misogyny was rampant in writers' rooms, actors were manipulated into infighting and drama with their co-stars by production, child actors were forced to perform scenes they found uncomfortable, actors as young as 6 years old were verbally abused and or fired in anger by producers, and outright sexual abuse and rape also occurred. Drake Bell was assaulted by his former dialogue coach, and he himself went on to perpetuate the cycle of abuse through his misconduct with underage girls. During and after the 2024 U.S. presidential election, the slow and unsteady release of the Epstein files reignited even more public interest in the widespread prevalence of child sexual abuse in American politics, business, and entertainment. Nickelodeon was not a safe place for children to be. The child actors faced real and intense abuse on the sets of these programs. However, what I want to focus on today is how this really wasn't all that hidden. The explicit details were covered up and only revealed in this decade, but the signs were always there. The content in the shows themselves was abusive in nature. So, why feet? Why is the theme of feet in Nickelodeon live-action media an indicator of devious intentions? To know why, we first need to understand the nature of a foot fetish itself. Sex organs, breasts, bare chest, buttocks, and thighs are often covered up by clothing and censored in media since they are widely considered to be sexual, inappropriate, intimate, or private parts of the body. Notably, feet are also often covered, not necessarily because it is a cultural mandate that they be covered for modesty, but rather because of practical reasons. If you don't wear socks and shoes, you could hurt your feet. If you're running, hiking, playing sports, or walking on concrete or gravel, you need to wear shoes to protect your feet. Environments and situations like these happen to encompass a large amount of everyday life, and as such, the scenarios in which shoes are not a necessity are limited, typically to resting in the privacy of your home, bathing, swimming, and intimacy. The majority of public situations people participate in necessitate the wearing of shoes. Because of this, bare feet just so happen to be relegated to only being seen in intimate settings, despite their presence not being the focus of such moments. Feet are not considered explicit like breasts and sex organs are, but they are a sort of private part in their own way. In this explanation lies the reason why the scenes in iCarly and many other Nickcoms become sort of sinister in retrospect. Every time feet are discussed or shown in a Nickcom, it is either completely innocuous, like the characters just so happen to be barefoot or wearing open-toed shoes in that moment, and their feet just so happen to be perfectly in frame, or it's done for comedic effect. The presence of a foot is used for a gross-out factor or a lol so random type moment. Lol, Spencer's feet are in milk. Ew, Spencer stepped in something green. LMAO, a talking foot on the TV. Haha, Sam likes her feet rubbed. Teehee, they painted faces on their toes. This is how it becomes sinister. Plausible deniability. If the focus of the scene is lol feet or ew feet, and not explicitly those feet are hot and sexy, it allows the creator and the viewer to exercise their paraphilia without the knowledge or consent of others. Let me be very clear. I love dunking on foot fags as much as everyone else does. It's one of the internet's favorite pastimes, but I do so in jest. I'm not kink-shaming anyone. If you love feet, there's nothing wrong with you going to town on a set of some sexy toes with another consenting adult partner. The problem is that the actors on the show were presented with scripts for scenes very frequently involving their bare feet under the guise of comedy through randomness and gross-out bits, when in reality, it was possible the writers and producers got some sort of kick out of seeing a private part of these actors' bodies. And it wasn't just the actors, but the viewers as well. iCarly features dozens of viewer-submitted clips of children performing little skits or showcases of their unique talents. In-universe, this is why the gang started their web show. After the school talent show only allowed kids with traditional talents to perform, Carly came up with the idea to do their own talent show to allow all the kids with wacky and unique skills to show off what they're capable of. During the end credits of many episodes, clips submitted by viewers of kids showing their unique talents were played. And the amount of fucking times that the talent or skit they did had to do with their feet, or just so happened to have their feet bare and visible, is astounding. While the show was airing and in development, iCarly.com was an actual website, and you could submit your own videos to it for a chance of being featured on the show. The link to submit a video was completely public. Granted, in 2007 to 2012 when the show aired, smartphones and iPod Touches had, just come out. Cameras were not nearly as accessible as they are now. The universal experience of children making cursed videos on their iPod Touch or 3DS camera and uploading them to YouTube was just beginning. But even without the ease of access of modern times, there had to have been thousands of submissions. And not every episode features a viewer-submitted clip. Many were pre-planned skits made by the cast. Only a few dozen viewer-submitted clips were ever used, so the fact that so many of the few they ever used happened to feature kids doing shit with their feet, very telling. In all of the clips, the kids also say, "Hey Carly, Sam, and Freddy," at the start. They're speaking to the characters directly. Characters who were minors, played by actors who were also minors. If these children, who are now adults, look back at the time they were on iCarly as them sending a silly little clip of them goofing off to 3 other children they idolized, they'll probably look back on it quite fondly. Instead, if they view it as sending a video of them goofing off to a boardroom of 40 to 60-something-year-old men who chose their clip over thousands of others because they got sexual gratification out of examining the part of their body that is normally hidden, they'd probably feel violated. At some point, Dan Schneider realized what Peter Griffin did in that one episode.
"I'm a children's TV star now. I can have any 3-year-old girl I want. Just know that, Lois."
Noticing he was sitting on a gold mine of foot pics from children, he stopped just waiting for the kids to incidentally show him their feet, but explicitly started asking them to do so. In 2013, while a spin-off show from iCarly and Victorious, Sam and Cat, was airing, the show's official Twitter account tweeted this gem. "Sam and Cat, tomorrow, right on the bottom of your foot. Take a pic and use hashtag #SamandCatSaturday. We'll retweet and follow until our fingers get sore." And before that, he was also producing and posting promotional videos and pictures of the feet and toes of the cast of iCarly and Victorious on his personal Twitter while those shows were airing. Pic! Carly tickles Sam's very unusual toes. If you have a moment, would you please name Sam's toes for us? Little Ariana Grande from Victorious smiles at one of her co-stars' feet. But whose foot is it? Video! Would you like to see Victoria Justice pour ketchup all over her feet? Well, here you go! Now you may be asking, how do we know Dan Schneider, or anyone else at Nickelodeon for that matter, had these nefarious intentions at all? And unfortunately, we don't know. We can only make inferences and assumptions about their intentions given what we do know. We could give Dirty Dan the benefit of the doubt, but given the proven history of long-standing abuse at Nickelodeon Studios, as shown in the many exposés that came out this decade, the strands of credibility they have are starting to break. And this is sort of the problem with fetish content online as well. Again, it's plausible deniability. It's difficult to explicitly prove that what you're seeing is secretly adult in nature, but when you have an eye for it, you know it when you see it. I cannot definitively prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the people on Snapchat slopping raw eggs into sprinkles, jamming it all in a waffle iron till it's burnt to a crisp, and overflowing hot sticky sugar and egg juice onto the countertop while saying, "Yes, yes, yes, this is exactly what we want, keep going," into the camera and dragging it on for like 15 minutes is fetish content. But being an online individual who is aware of the plague of this type of content and what specific fetishes it is appealing to, I can look at this and confidently tell you that yes, this is fetish content, but I could not prove that in a court of law. They could just say, "I thought it was so funny because it was so gross and random," and I cannot refute that. I can look at Sam forcing Neville to drink soda out of her sweaty shoe and confidently tell you that that is a degradation ritual, but I can't prove that it is. So does Dan Schneider have a foot fetish? Maybe. I can't prove that. But I can prove through the testimony of the actors on his shows that he routinely treated them like shit and constantly made them do things that made them feel uncomfortable, and that true abuse and crimes against these minors took place under his supervision at Nickelodeon. Now that I know about the legacy of abuse perpetrated by the government and big business over the past half-century, now that I know about what life was like for the actors on these shows, now that I know about how many men abused their position of power over young vulnerable women, now that I know about how online grifters in the social media age weaponize hyper-specific fetishes to make money on platforms that otherwise do not permit explicit content, I wince every time that some dumb fuck shit with a foot happens on my beloved childhood shows. So, what's the takeaway from this? Is Dan Schneider a bad person? Well, yeah, probably. But that isn't the main point here. The real overarching issue is how children in media are exploited and how people with malicious intent like Dan Schneider are allowed to perform their exploitation for years without consequence. It shouldn't have taken 20 years, a memoir, a docuseries, a massive government conspiracy scandal, and multiple court cases for us to collectively look at this mess and recognize it for what it was. Abuse. I was a child when I watched these shows, but my parents weren't. It haunts and confuses me why when I was growing up, so many of my friends told me their parents didn't let them watch SpongeBob or some other cartoon because they found it annoying and said it rotted your brain. But never once did I hear a parent say their kids can't watch iCarly or Victorious because of how they exploit and harass the actresses on their shows and the kids who watch them. I don't understand how the adults around me watched this show with me and didn't feel uncomfortable the way that I do now. Making a joke on a kid's show about a grown man stepping in green gunk on the ground and showing it to his little sister isn't the issue. Feet aren't the issue. Intentionally getting children to send photos to an adult in order to fulfill his fetish, forcing underage actors and actresses to show their bare feet with the underlying intention to enjoy watching it for sexual gratification, harassing young women in general, and having it all happen while all of America watched is the issue. These TV shows mean so much to me. They're all classics. Countless quotable moments, breathtaking and infectiously catchy musical performances, engaging stories, and relatable characters that you really, truly care for. They really do have it all. I don't think these shows should be condemned and locked away for how their producers treated their casts. If anything, I think discrediting them entirely would be an insult to the blood, sweat, and tears put into them by their cast members who suffered so much to make these stories come to life. I'd just maybe not show them to kids. Maybe let people enjoy them when they're a bit older. Looking back at the 2000s and 2010s Nick-coms, I feel melancholy. Nostalgic and sentimental for a time long past, yearning to go back to when life was simpler, when the world wasn't so scary, when my family gathering on the couch to watch the new iCarly made me forget all my troubles. But also, guilty. Knowing what I know now, I feel like a bystander. I feel like I'm watching someone suffer and I'm unable to help them. I feel like watching these shows is selfish. I feel like I'm forcing someone to exist in a state of torment so that I can hold on to my own gratification. Every time I laugh, every time I sing along, I feel sorry. But maybe that guilt is a good thing. Maybe it's good to recognize the flaws in things that bring you joy. I think that acute awareness of how connected to suffering everything is, while dread-inducing at times, is a great strength, and I'm glad that it's becoming more common. iCarly brought me joy. but it also brought its cast a lot of pain. So I'm thankful. I'm happy that people like Jeanette McCurdy and Noah Monk, who had bad experiences on set, stuck it out. I'm thankful that they put up with so much torment to bring people like me so much joy. And hopefully, if more people feel that way, then the next generation of children's entertainment will be just as inspired as the bright side of Dan Schneider's work, but free from the dark, free from the abuse and exploitation, free from the sinister subtlety and the overt torture. Somehow, the world will change and be so wonderful. There's no chance unless you take one, and the time to see the brighter side of every situation.